Hi, I'm Brian. Welcome to my hobby space. Today I'm going to get the most that I can out of this Start Collecting Skinks box. In this box we get a Skink Start Priest, 10 Skinks, 3 Pterodon or Ripperdactyl Riders, and a Bastiladon. But I think we can get a little more out of it than just that. The unit I want to try to get first is a Skink Priest. They used to be 70 points in game. Then they went to like 80 or 90. Then I think it's like 120. Next week I think they're going to be about 200 points. Anyway, I think we should make one for our army. I've already made all the models in the kit. They're really fun to make and they came out really nice. The kit also gives you a lot of extra pieces because you can make the Ripperdactyl or Pterodon Riders 2 different ways, and you can get a different thing to go on the back of the Bastiladon. These are all the extra pieces that I clipped from the sprues from the Start Collecting Skinks box. Best of all, we have 3 extra skink bodies and loads of arms and weaponry to decorate them with. Here are the parts that I think will make the best miniature. This base is a 25mm round base. It's not supplied in the box, so I had to get my own. My general thoughts of what I'm going to do is to put his legs on like normal, attach his arm as normal, but I'm going to cut this blade off, and that way this will look like a magic staff. I plan to attach the blade to the stump of this hand over here. It'll look like he's got some sacrificial knife. This little feather piece I'm going to hook down here on his staff like that. I'm going to put this one over here between his arm and the staff. That'll make these 2 stronger pieces. I'm going to have all of that standing on this Arc of Sotek piece, but there's a gap in it, and I'm going to use the cork to fill the gap. Off camera, I cleaned up all of the mold lines on my pieces. I think that'll make a really good magic staff. But the handle will work really good with this knife blade. So I'm going to straighten up that cut and glue that on there. Drill a hole in the hand and the knife and put a little bit of paperclip in there and see if that will strengthen the joint. Everybody loves strong joints. If you don't have this drill, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Just glue it on there. If it comes off, it comes off. I've had a whole bunch of GW stuff that's just straight out of the box break on me, so don't worry about it. Just glue it on, back on. She's using some cheap glue from the dollar store here. Tiny little drip. Put that in there. Yeah, ha, ha, pow! Okay, so I can cut this off pretty close to its hand. Watch your eyes, folks, when you're doing this kind of thing. Be ashamed to go to work with an eye patch. You have to explain you injured yourself doing modeling. Not a bad little knife for my skink to stab people with. Next I'm just going to add some glue and get his leg on. Okay, wow, it looks like our skink here is going to take a dookie. Bloop, bloop. Bloop, bloop. So I want to put his arm on before putting any of the feathers on, because I want to make sure the feathers are dropping kind of in a natural way. I don't want them pointing up or something weird. Put this little one over here, just like that. Kind of want to trim just the tiniest little bit off of him. Kind of scared to, but hey, don't be afraid. Try. Ooh, fiddly tiny bits, fiddly tiny bits. Okay, so I trimmed it up a little. I put some glue on it. I'm going to glue it on. Here he is. He's going to be jumping up on a stone. He's got a little feather ring hanging off his staff. Yep, I think that looks quite nice. This is just me doing it because I don't want that staff to break. So I'm going to add these feathers here, like they're attached to his wrist. Medallion with 3 feathers on it. It's got this little piece sticking off on the end, and looking at it, I don't want it. So I'll shave that off. So now I'm going to glue that on, and it'll look like my Skink Priest has got a smartwatch. Cool, he's ahead of the curve. Who knows? Maybe the Skinks got super amazing technology and they had smartwatches, who knows? To get this arm on, I have to take off this bit of nub where his shoulder is. So a little trip to the doctors and a little snippety do. It's be easier if I trim just a little bit off over here, make a flat spot. Looky there, there's just a really good fit. It'll glue nicely, and that gap's no bigger than most GW gaps. Little sprue glue will fill it right up. So back to the glue station. I think that's really good, especially if you compare it to the current GW Skink Priest. This guy looks like he's going to smash you in the face. I was going to add this little shield to his arm, kind of like to make him look just a little more badass. It will make painting his leg more difficult, but you know what? I think it looks cool. And you know what? This hobby is about what we think looks cool. That's what I'm doing. The original model has a cloak. Well, maybe this is his cloak. It's a hide. It's got spikes so he can stab you with it. Yeah. For the base, I'm going to use these bits of the Ark of Sotek. They go together like a broken heart. And it leaves you this big gap here. Here I got a piece of cork. I'm going to put it in here. I'm going to glue it in. And once everything gets primed, it's just going to look like this is a stone piece that's been broken. And I'll fill in some of these gaps too with some more cork. Cork is great stuff for modeling. I get mine at the dollar store. They sell like big sheets of it. Doesn't always work though. Sometimes you look and you're like, oh, that's cork. And that's not what we want. So you do have to do your best to hide it. Disguise it, I should say. And to do that, you can use, I don't know, sprue goo. You could use Mod Podge will work. And you can do a lot of stuff to it. You can cover it in sand, I guess, if you really wanted to. I'm just going to put some in here, in his arm socket. And I want to put a little on the back over here as well. Just to fill up those gaps. Put some on his base too. This place here on the back where it didn't, my fingers had stuck to it, and it kind of messed up the seam. I'm not really too worried about it. You know what? I'm actually going to cover up the gaps here. And that will fill in some of the gaps on the cork, make it look less like cork and more like stone. Now to let all of these pieces cure. And when I'm done, I'll come back and glue it all together. To simulate some of this broken stuff coming off, a little bit of cork, tiny little pieces on the base. Later on I'll come back and I'll put a little bit of the sprue goo on there as well. Dun, da, da, da. I think we've done it. We've got a Skink Priest with just some extra bits. It does look pretty cool actually. I let the sprue goo gas off and harden overnight and gave it a quick zenithal prime this morning. It's actually more of a gray prime because I plan on painting him with contrast paints. Well, there he is all painted up. I didn't show the painting process because I know everyone has their own preferences for painting schemes. I like my skinks to be blue, so I painted mine blue. I use contrast Talisar blue for the blue. I use Retributor gold for the gold. MSP Bones Master Paint Series Skeleton Bone for the base. I also did all of this turquoise stuff with the bone color. I put Nylon Oxide over the bone. The yellow part's Yandan yellow. The red is Blood Angels red. The green is Beotan green. For his eyes, I just dropped a little tiny bit of silver in there. And then did a little tiny drop of Nuln oil to darken around the edges. Over the top of the base, I did an Agrax Earthshade Wasp. And then another dry brush of the original bone. He looks pretty badass for a character that's going to get stepped on or sneezed on and die for like 2,000 points. This is a really easy model to make and he's super useful in the army. If you've got any questions or comments, put them down below. I love getting them and I always read them. If you got this and you're making sprue goo and you run out, just get some airbrush cleaner. This stuff is almost exactly the same. I've been using it, it works great. Stay safe, keep enjoying the hobby, and I'll see you next time.